Okay, so I've got the enclosure finished up here. Now we're going to be covering this enclosure. The plan is to use a piece of green plexiglass for the door here. I don't know what the rating is on this as far as visible light. It's not safety glass. Safety glass, a door like this would cost about $600 if you bought green safety glass. The cheapest I found was some 12 by 12 square for like a small window, and that was about $100, $125 I think. The laser originally has nothing, so I thought anything around it would serve better than nothing at all. So I'm not trying to fully contain the laser and make it completely safe. I'm just trying to avoid any bystanders walking by in the room. You're still going to have to use glasses when you're operating this, which is just smart anyways. Also, I'm going to be covering this outside with a welding blanket. Now, the welding blanket is not rated for, of course, lasers. This is 1064 nanometers spectrum. This welding blanket that I picked up is just your standard Wilson here. Again, this was off Amazon, but it does come with this data sheet here, and it tells you about the visible light. I had people ask about this when I showed off the design here. It's around the 320 range is what they've got poking out. It does, this shaded area, it says here that it's designed to aid in controlling the scattered radiation in the shaded area, or probably up all the way up to this green, I'm guessing, which is around 700 nanometers. But of course this is in the 1064, which would be way up here on the infrared scale. But it's your standard green. It actually looks black, it's so dark, but I think this will do a really good job of anybody's walking through the garage here while I've got it over in the corner, if they're passing by and they happen to glance over, just to protect them. I think it'll be I think it's going to be fine for that particular purpose. Now, looking directly into it, of course you want to wear safety glasses. I wanted to point that out because I don't want people to think that what I'm doing is going to be completely safe and you don't have to wear goggles. You still need to wear goggles, so I want to make sure that I'm perfectly clear on that this is not going to prevent any harm coming to your eyes. Always wear your safety goggles. After doing some research on the welding curtain and the safety glass and looking up this information, it got me wondering about the goggles that came with this. Now, they are stamped. You can clearly see there that they're stamped 1064, but it makes you wonder, right? I'm going to go ahead and cover this today, and we'll continue working on this. Mounts for the fan are already in place, and also the slot here. And so I have these flanges that will kind of bolt the welding curtain down and kind of keep everything in place. So that's going to work out nice. So yeah, let me see about getting some of these pieces trimmed for this, and we'll start getting this covered. Okay guys, so you can see I've got the first piece in. It's going in pretty good. There's a little bit of technique to getting it in there, and so I'm going to go over that with you real quick. I did leave the tag on here just in case I ever sell the laser. Whoever purchases will know what this was and the rating on that. I've used these spring clamps to kind of get me started, and what I did was I started with this first top edge. This is the long side. Then I stretched it over the frame and I clamped it, and I clamped it on the sides, and I'm just finishing up here. And this webbing here that goes in this channel, you can see how it kind of grips. So what I'm kind of doing is turning it at an angle like this and kind of sort of getting that side tucked in a little bit. And then I'm coming with this side. This is just a popsicle stick, and I'm pushing that down in, and so it pulls slack from the edge over here but keeps this taut. And it's working out really nice. It's just kind of tucking right in there. And this webbing kind of stretches a little bit, so cut them a little bit short, about a ½ inch short. And when it stretches out, it'll be okay. This is a little bit long here, so I'm going to trim this off. And you can really push this down in there and get it set. And then you can come back and just kind of make sure it's down in there real good. It'll spring back into place. And that'll help pull everything kind of taut. Well, you can see it turned out fairly well. Now you can see there was, well, you might not be able to see, but well, it looks pretty smooth here on camera, but there was a wrinkle here where the folds were, and I just took a heat gun on low heat, stayed really far away from it, and just kind of, as I had it clamped, just kind of hit it with a heat gun and just watched it come out, the wrinkles get pulled out, and then I restretched it and then put the webbing in. I think that turned out pretty good. You can see I have a little bit extra, so I measured to the outside of the frame here so that it would give me extra material, and then I'm going to come back and trim that up with a razor, and that'll be nice. I think that's going to work out really well. Alright, so I'm going to trim this up. I'm going to go around, and when I do the back, I'll show you how I work around the cabling and stuff like that, but I'm going to go ahead and do the other side. Alright, so you can see how I've got it pulled here, and I'm just kind of stretching it out a little bit and using these clamps here to kind of just pull it tight. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to do this edge here first. And you can see it's wrinkled, and so what I'll do is I'll get this edge in place. I'll go around the 3 edges there, pull it tight again, and then hit it with the heat gun. Again, far enough away so that it doesn't melt through it, and just kind of pull out some of the wrinkles, and then I'll start working on the other side. Well, it's coming together pretty good. All that's left now is just to put the front on, the door, and I think it turned out really well. It really fits nice in this cart, and you can't really, I mean, you can see through it, but I think it's going to work out just fine. Now we have some 3D printed components here for the umbilical cord to pass through here, just some grommets really. A mount here for the fan, and I'll go over the 3D models for those in another video. You can see how they pass through here. So that turned out really nice. So yeah, that's the exhaust fan. It's a 3-inch hose, and then that way you can just run it out a window. This, you can see this bulging out slightly there. It's touching the umbilical cord here, but I think that's going to be fine. Really happy with the way it turned out. So now I just need to mount the door, so next we just need to cut down the door. Alright, well, we got that finished up. The plexiglass that I chose was 16 by 24, I believe. And so it wasn't tall enough to go from here all the way up to here. I wasn't sure exactly how tall I was going to make the cabinet. What I ended up doing was just leaving the extrusion, the 80 centimeters that it came, and so that made it a little bit taller. So what I did was I put in this little filler piece up top. I went over to the table saw and I ripped a piece off here to get the right width. I've mounted the hinges on here. Now, what I did for the doors, anybody that's been in any kind of industrial type situation, plexiglass is used a lot for safety, doors, windows, stuff like that, Lexan. And what happens is these stress points right here, they tend to crack. So it's good to have just a nut plate here instead of a bolt. That way you've got more surface there and it prevents it from cracking. So I made a nut plate for this side, which is going to get all the movement. And over here I put these big washers for the handle to help with that. The handle's pretty wide, so there's not going to be a lot of stress on that, I hope, and it'll be okay. I'll put some kind of magnetic catch or something for the door. But now all we have left is just to mount the door. And we're just using these, they're really like M-locks. It's what they appear to be to me. Fasteners here. The good thing about these M-locks is you can just adjust. They're real easy to adjust. It looks sealed up pretty good. I don't know what kind of protection this is going to offer, but it's definitely better than being wide open. So that was my main concern, and I think that this right here is going to solve that issue. Alright, so let me get this plastic and we'll get it all buttoned up and we'll get a good overview. Well, there we have the finished enclosure. I think it turned out really nice. Let's take a little walk around and I'll show you some of the details. The door fits real nice. What I did was I put this inside here, and so I really didn't need a catch for the door because it just kind of gets stuck on that. I think that's going to work out just fine. We have our 4th axis in here. So far I've only been using it in this direction where it rotates around the x-axis here, or rotates around the y-axis, I guess you'd say. If I do need to side mount it over here, it's going to have to hang off the bed. So far I've just been using it in this orientation. It's been working out really well for the parts that I've been using. You can see that there's quite a bit of distance, probably a good 12 inches or so from here to here, and I can slide it over a little bit and kind of angle it if I need to. I think that's going to be just fine. You can see the fan back there that's exhausting. Another thing that I did was I added a power strip in the back here, and so now I just have one plug, and then I have an on-off switch here for the fan. It's exhausting currently. I don't have the hose hooked up because I'm out here in the garage, so right now I think it's okay. This winter, when I have to close the door, I'll have to vent this out a window. But I think, yeah, it's turned out really nice. What I'm going to do now is I'm just going to do some marking. I've got a piece of material in there, and I'm just going to mark my logo on it. And I'm going to do it from, this is about 5 feet away, just so you'll be able to see exactly what somebody passing by would see if they were to glance over at the laser. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to go ahead and fire it up and do this mark. Alright, we're fired up and ready to go. Make sure I put my goggles on. Remember, this door is not safety glass, and the curtain is not rated for laser. But we're going to go ahead and mark, and we're going to look and see what somebody just passing by would see in the event they glanced over at the laser. So we're going to take a look, and or what effect the enclosure happens to have on the laser. Alright, so here we go. I'm at 50% power right here. The speed is 300. This is about an 8mm tall text here, and it's just my logo. It's doing a crosshatch pattern at a 45-degree angle. There it goes, doing the other side. Alright. Let's take a look and see what we've marked here. I'm going to turn the laser off here. That's a really nice mark. I really like the way the laser does. Of course, this is an aluminum business card, so it's not going to be real dark, but it does show up pretty well on the gold colored card here. One other little test that I'm aware of that we use a lot at work is using your cell phone. If you've got an Android phone, or I know it works for sure on Galaxy, you can pick up infrared through the camera. So I'm going to show you what I'm talking about here. We're going to start this mark, and then you'll see there'll be a blur here on the camera that's being picked up by, you can kind of see it up here. There it goes. You can see it right there. So that's infrared, which is in the higher wavelength, and you can still see it through the door here. So I know that this door is not filtering out infrared. I did the same test for the curtain over here, and I can see that it's not picking it up as well. There you go. You can still see it up there. There you go. So I know it's not filtering out. I think it's a little bit safer to have something around there that's kind of diffusing the light. But it's definitely not something that you would want to say is protecting you from looking at it. You still need to wear your goggles, and if anybody's watching you do any kind of marking, they definitely need to have a pair of goggles on as well. But what I'm going to do now is we're going to just, I took some sample pieces and we're going to try to mark through it and see exactly if it does anything. So let me get set up for that. Okay, what I've got here is I've just got a circle that we're going to mark. You can see it framed up right there. And I'm going to go ahead and just mark this card so you can see that it is definitely marking. Okay. So we are marking the card there. You can see the dot there. I'm going to move it over just a little bit. And I've got this as about inch and a half above, and I've got a piece of the welding curtain here. We're going to lay it over the top of it like so, and we're going to try to mark through it. And if it's diffusing all of the wavelength that's coming through the curtain, then we won't get a mark at all on our business card. Alright, so I think you got that on camera. You can see it put a hole right through it. So it's definitely not preventing the light from coming through. However, it does diffuse it some because the mark, I don't know if it's showing up on camera, but the mark is definitely not as dark it was without the curtain. However, burning through the curtain is definitely absorbing some of the energy. Now let's do it again with a piece of this leftover material that I used for the door. I'm just going to kind of hold it up there, but I can still see it underneath passing through. And I think it does do a little bit of, it does diffuse it a little bit because it did make a mark here, but it's very light and very faint compared to the without anything. Then we have our welding curtain, and then we have with the glass here. So hopefully that kind of says it's doing something. However, I know for a fact that it's not filtering out the higher wavelengths because I can pick it up through the lens of my camera on my phone, and I know that that works really well for picking up infrared. I'm not sure how scientific these tests are. Watch a gentleman on YouTube testing some glasses, laser everything, and he showed that although he destroyed his glasses, that they did, the ones he was testing did filter out all of the light, so I'm guessing the rating on the glasses was correct. And of course we know that this wasn't rated, or I know this wasn't rated. It was just standard off-the-shelf acrylic green glass. A safety window of this size, I priced it, it was like $600. That's way more than I want to put into this enclosure. The laser itself doesn't come with any kind of enclosure, so there's no protection whatsoever, and I don't want to give people a false sense of protection with this enclosure. Overall though, I'm happy. I think it's, after using the laser for a while and marking several items, the fumes, getting rid of the fumes is something definitely that I needed to do, and I think that this enclosure will help keep everything contained and exhaust all the fumes, so that will be beneficial. And I believe that overall, you can see in this test, it does do some diffusing, but it doesn't diffuse all the wavelength from passing through. Well, alright guys, I think that'll wrap up this video on the Monport 20 watt fiber laser enclosure. Guys, if you're new to my channel and you're just tuning in, click on that subscribe button in the bottom right hand corner. Also, click on that notification bell. That way when I post a new video, they'll send you a link. And if it's something you're interested in, you can stop by and check it out. As always guys, please feel free to ask questions, make suggestions, or leave comments. Thumbs up if you like the video, please subscribe, and most importantly, be safe.